UFC 189 was going to be the biggest and best card ever. It was going to go over 1 million pay-per-view buys, but then Jose Aldo fucked things up. First of all, he was skipping drug tests, saying that the company didn't have a business visa. Well, they came out the other day and said they actually did have a business visa. Get that into you, MMA sportsman. They did have a visa, and they had all the paperwork they needed, but Jose wouldn't take the test. Then Jose decided he was going to fly in a punk from another Brazilian camp to train with him a couple of weeks out before the fight. Did this punk go on the radio and tell everybody he was training with Aldo and talk himself up as Conor McGregor Mach 2, the man with the kicks, that he was trash talking in the ring and he's trying to make a name for himself? Yes, he did. Did he then kick Jose and injure him? Because Jose was doing hard sparring 2.5 weeks out from the biggest fight of his life. Yes, he did. Did Jose tell everyone that he was injured with his bruised rib? Another big no-no in the fight game. You don't tell someone you're injured. But yes, he did. He told everyone he was injured. So he pulled out of the fight. And what are we left with now? We're left with Winnie the Pooh. Chad Mendes has stepped up to fight. And he just doesn't really have it. You might think he has it because he's #1 contender, but look at his record. All he's beaten is a guy who has a very unoriginal nickname, who floated around the division, but in reality is not that good a fighter, Ricardo Lamas. He might have Tigger in his corner, the California Yid. Yeah, bruh, you know, Conor can't beat you, bruh. No one's ever come with that kind of pressure, man. You know? I'm going down to get a fucking face tuck now. Fucking Dominic messed me up real good. I fucking hate that guy. He messed me up real good. Need lots of plastic surgery now, bro. But you're gonna win, bro, Chad. Yeah? You're gonna win. So that's where we are now. That's the main event. Luckily, we got Ruthless Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald to duke it out for the welterweight title, which will be much more fun than watching a one-sided beating from the notorious one against Mendes. But we're going to start at the bottom of the card, towards the bottom of the card. Carl Pendred, another Irishman, is coming off a fight a couple of weeks ago where he beat Augusto Montano, a Mexican that didn't turn up in his hometown to fight. He beat him by an easy decision. Now, for the first time, Pendred has been given an opponent of a pretty decent caliber, Doomsday Howard. Pretty hard to know how Doomsday's going to fight this one, but he's coming off 3 losses. 2 very close ones against Ryan Affair and Brian Ebersol, and then he got knocked out against Lorenz Larkin. We saw Lorenz Larkin in his last fight look real good. So what's Doomsday going to do? He's going to try and knock Pendred out. Pendred striking is where he stutters. He's a little bit slow. He's a little bit looping. And his takedowns, I don't know. But he's a battler. And he's never going to give up. And Doomsday is going to fight, but he's going to get put in his back this time. He's going to go for a big haymaker. Pendred's going to put him on his back. It's going to happen for the 3 rounds. There's not going to be a lot of action in this fight. Pendred's going to take another decision, and you can tell the UFC don't like him too much. He doesn't win his fights with any sort of impressiveness, just basically grinding out results. But if he keeps winning, he's going to keep going up the ladder. But I have Pendred by decision against Doomsday, and Doomsday, although Dana White has had good things to say about him sometimes, I think Doomsday's going to get cut after this one. So, another fight we have in the prelims, which must be to beef up the pay-per-view buys right before Joe and Dana go doing their pitch for the pay-per-view for 189. Matt the Immortal Brown is fighting Tim the Dirty Bird Means. Now, Tim Means is 4 in a row at the moment, but when we look at them, you know, it's Perpetuo, Alexander Jr., Lima, and Sullivan. No great shakes anywhere there. And when Tim Means has fought anyone decent, he's lost. Now, Tim Means is not a man that gets knocked out. He's a man that gets decisioned by the likes of Neil Magny, Danny Castillo, and Jorge Masvidal. Unanimous decisions all the way. Doesn't have the arsenal to win decisions against top fighters. And he's fighting Matt Brown, and we all know about Matt Brown. And he's had 2 losses, one against Johnny Hendricks and one against Robbie Lawler. And he went 5 rounds with Robbie and 3 rounds with Hendricks, and he lost the decision. But this is a man who's knocked out Eric Silva. He knocked out Mike Pyle in 30 seconds. TKO Jordan Mine. Beat Mike Swick. You know? Beat Wonder Boy by decision. Then he has a win over Doomsday back in the day as well. Matt Brown needs to win. And Matt Brown is too high, too good, too strong for Tim Means. Whether he can finish Tim Means, that's another question. But I think Tim Means is going to get knocked the fuck out for the first time in his career. I mean, he's a TKO way back in the day against him, but Matt Brown wants to finish, and he wants to get back up that ladder a bit closer to the top, and he wants a title shot one day. All Matt Brown is focusing on is beating the shit out of Tim Means, and he's going to do it, and I think we'll get decent enough odds on a knockout, and that's where my money is going. Alright, another pretty cool fight is Gunnar Nelson, and he's fighting Brandon Thatch. Everybody had Brandon Thatch against Benson Henderson. Everybody. And I was like, how the fuck is Brandon Thatch suddenly going to technique up to beat a guy like Ben Henderson? And he didn't. Henderson danced around and you know, out-techniqued him, out-experienced him. Simple. Now he's fighting Gunnar Nelson, a man who is coming off a bad split decision loss against Rick Story. He complained about not being motivated. Possibly a Scandinavian trait. They like Jantoloven up in Scandinavia. It means everyone needs to be equal. No one needs to be tried to be better than each other. And if you do, it's bad. Gunnar was suffering from this for a few months, he says. Well, I say. He says he wasn't motivated. But now he's back, and he needs to win. And if he doesn't win, the aura and the, you know, the mirage around Gunnar Nelson is going to disappear pretty quick. He needs to win. He needs to win impressively. And this time he's got a really good opponent to do it over. A strong, fast opponent. So Gunnar's going to try and take it to the ground. And that's where Brandon Thatch, unfortunately, is not going to be up to the task. And whether he can finish Thatch is another question. Thatch is a big dude, remember. He's a very big dude. And it took Benson Henderson 4 rounds to finish him off. And I don't know if Gunnar can finish him in 3, but I would say Gunnar might be a slightly better submission guy than Benson Henderson. And, you know, he can do it. So I'll be betting on 2 things. I'll be betting Gunnar Nelson by decision, and I'll be betting Gunnar Nelson by submission. Brandon Thatch, I mean, he might get a lucky KO. He's a good fighter, this dude, but he's going to find his technique again lets him down. And, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Alright, Dennis Bermudez is coming back after he lost by guillotine to Cardo Lamas. And he's fighting the little heathen Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens seems to be around for ages, and he's only 29. Let's see when this guy first fought. Yeah, January 2005. So he's at it 10 years. He's an old schooler. Now, he doesn't have that many impressive wins, apart from one over a knockout over Rafael dos Anjos in UFC 91 back in 2008. Couture versus Lesnar. Holy shit, Jeremy. But his losses then, T-Bow, Loazon, Melvin beat him. I mean, he split decision to Sam Stout. He knocked out Marcus Davis. And, you know, Pederstroni and Edwards all fucked him up. Then he went a 3-5 winning streak, but then he's lost 2 decisions. He lost to Swanson and Oliveira. But anyone who can go 3 rounds with Charles Oliveira and not get submitted is a pretty good fighter, if you ask me. He lost a decision to Cub. 5 rounds they fought. So, excuse me, Dennis Bermudez is not going to submit Jeremy Stephens. Hell no. Hell no, he's not going to submit Jeremy Stephens. So, this is going to be either a decision or a KO is going on in this fight. Now, Dennis Bermudez, he's been subbed a few times. He's been subbed, but there was a bit of hype about Dennis Bermudez. You know, he beat Clay Guida by choke. Okay, Guida was a good fighter, but he's been on his way down for years. And yeah, you know, that doesn't impress me much. He split decision Max Holloway around the time that Conor McGregor destroyed him. You know, and he knocked out Jimmy Hedis. You know, fuck Jimmy Hedis. He's not up. He's not the standard of the top of the tree in this division. Jeremy Stephens is one tough son of a bitch, and I think Jeremy Stephens is going to decision Dennis Bermudez, and he's going to go balls to the wall, and he's going to try and knock him out. But Dennis is pretty tough and he's pretty wily, and I don't think he's going to get knocked out. He might do. I might have a side bet on him getting knocked out, but I think Jeremy's going to win this. And I don't see the bookmakers being on Jeremy's side, but I'm on his side. And, yeah, Dennis ain't submitting him. There's no chance in hell he's submitting him. The only way Dennis can win this is by decision, but I think Jeremy's going to be a bit more aggressive and a bit more ruthless for this one. And that's how it's going down, boys. Now, one of my favourite fighters of all time, Ruthless Robbie Lawler. I was watching this guy when he was a young kid, and he was just knocking people out, and he was awesome. And then he went away, and he came back a much better fighter in every aspect. And he was walking down Johnny Hendricks at the end of the 5th round, kicking him in the ribs and punching him, and Hendricks wanted no part of it. Hendricks was actually running from him. He was running away around the ring, and Robbie was chasing after him after 5 rounds of war. And he's fighting Rory MacDonald. Rory, who's now calling himself the Red King, believe that's a reference to some Celtic ginger. I don't know, it might be from my neck of the woods. Not sure, but the Red King is fighting, and the Red King has looked very impressive. He's had 3 fights since he lost against Robbie, against high-caliber dudes. Damian Maia, Tyrone Woodley, who he absolutely schooled in 3 rounds, and Safadine, who he knocked out, although Safadine's a bit limited. So, he's fighting Robbie. A lot of people think Rory is going to beat Robbie this time. But to be honest with you, I just don't see it. I think Rory's an excellent fighter, but Robbie has it all. He's got the cardio, he's got the punches, he's got the kicks, he's got the takedown defense, he's got the wrestling now. I'm not too sure how good his jiu-jitsu is, but he's got everything else. And I just think we're going to have a similar type of fight to the last time. It's going to be Robbie a little bit better than Rory. A little bit better and just enough. I'm not sure. I mean, it's 5 rounds. 5 rounds. I don't really see either guy being finished. I don't really see it. Rory got knocked out by Carlos Condit in like 7 seconds to go in their fight in 2010, but he hasn't been knocked out apart from that. But he can't be knocked out. Robbie could knock him out. What's Robbie going to do? Is he going to go balls to the wall in the first couple of rounds? He hasn't done his last few fights. He knows he's going 5 rounds, and he conserves a bit of energy. And it can be a bit frustrating because you know he can knock the guy out if he really does it. But I think Robbie's going to fight the usual game he's fought the last 2 fights. He's going to decision Rory MacDonald. Rory, you know, I like this guy. He's a good dude. He's everything about him is pretty impressive. But I just think Robbie is a tiny bit better. Going to be a tiny bit better in his technique. He's that bit more experience, that bit more wiliness and guile. He's going to win the fight, and that's going to be that. I'm going to put a bet on a Robbie Lawler by decision. I might have a little one on Robbie Lawler by KO, but I don't see Rory beating him. I don't see it. Okay, the main event. McGregor's fighting Mendes. A lot's been said on this, but I'm just going to say a couple of things. Chad, he's beaten Lamas, Lintz, Guida. That's it. You know, he's beaten Swanson in 2010 by unanimous decision. That's it. These are the guys he's beat. None of them, if you ask me, are top of the tree. How he's number 1 contender, I'm not really sure. He got to number 1 contender by beating Nick Lintz. Okay. His last fight is the most impressive fight of his career. He knocked out Ricardo Lamas. And that's his only chance against Conor. He can knock him out. And Conor is one that is willing to take a punch to land a couple. If you see that Poirier clipped him Seaver clipped him a few times. Now he just walked through them like they were just pitter-patter, but if Mendes lands a full, powerful strike, then it might be a different story. It might be a different story. And I think there's a small chance in every fight that, you know, the guy looking for one big punch can land it. Mendes he might just try and take him down and grind, but he's not going to be able to hold him down. He's too small. Connor's too good at getting up. He's too sprightly. And he's not going to... When Seaver was taking him down, he was halfway up even before he'd hit the ground. So good luck with that. Mendes, your only chance is a KO. And, you know, maybe it's a 1 in 20 chance. 1 in 15 chance I'll give him a KO. But I don't think it's going to happen. Connor's going to walk him down. He's going to front kick him with his kick jab. He's going to side kick him. And then he's going to land straights down the middle. And Mendes is going to get rocked and rocked and rocked. And he's going to get beat up just like Seaver did. He's going to throw everything at Connor, but he's just going to get beat up and worn down in the second round. I mean, Connor said 4 minutes the first round. But it's going to be, in my mind, it's going to be a second round KO. And Mendes is just going to wilt after taking too much punishment. Nobody can take the kind of power that McGregor can give. Certainly not Chad Mendes. And the way it's going to end, it's going to be a knockout. Now, the one unfortunate thing on this card is the Soldier of God is not on it. He's not on the card. Possibly my new favourite fighter in the UFC. Took apart Machida on the feet. On the feet he took him apart. It was a beautiful thing to witness. He had his little speech at the end, but he's the Soldier of God. He can say whatever he wants. I hope to see Romero fighting for the title soon. And with that, I'm out. UFC 189. Time to win some cash.